are a producer who's trying to build your home studio for yourself, listen to this poem. Shit, like, just do it. This is literally my honors project and I got an A, so. Okay. The 6 acoustics that you'll need to deal with when building your home studio. Noise. Noise is the hum of the traffic coming in low from the street, sweeping and fuzz to your recorded drums while slipping buzz into your mics. Noise is Mike, the bassist, slipping out to make a call, not realizing that generally walls are only so thick and we can hear you when you're talking like this. God, just buy the guy a new pair of shoes. Really, dude. Finally, noise is what your neighbor complains about to the cops and gets your first ever recording session stopped just when your buddy's garage rock band got set up in your fancy brand new apartment, home studio. But come on, Karen. I thought we knew each other better than that. So, if you're smart and trying to take your studio to the next level, you need to manage that acoustic ambient noise coming in and out from both sides, so do not just slap up some curtains and carpet and think that you've dealt with it. Those lovely lightweight high-frequency death traps will look at low rumbling traffic and bass slaps and laugh at you for thinking they could do anything. Besides, before you do anything, you better know what you're dealing with, so go get yourself a sound meter, check it against this fancy thing called preferred noise criteria, and finally get yourself a clearer idea of just how loud Mike's phone calls usually freaking are. Only, once you've gotten that far and done the math, should you start getting yourself some board and fiberglass or rock wool, and then get to building some bass traps. Except you fool, you can't forget everybody else that came to the party. Reverb. Reverb is how while I'm talking to you, reverb is how while I'm talking, you all could know, even with your eyes closed, that you're not in a closet or a cathedral or the woods or really in any room that has any normal acoustics at all. The room I performed in had really bad acoustics. Anyway. It's my voice bouncing from the windows to the wall, to the wall, to the chair, to the wall, and the time and distance it's traveled. It's what gives your ear space and your place in it. It's a tool you can use. But engineers tend to like to have the freedom to choose their sound, so you better get it on your own terms. You cannot let that acoustic bully you and leave you stuck with the sound of a room that you're recording in, unless that's exactly what you want. So you little go-getter, start up, go get yourself a specialized mic in this fancy thing called a filtering system. Measure that previously mentioned time and travel distance, then use it to put your speakers in some place that makes sense. Then, my friend, you can work from there. Coloration. Coloration is the room you're in, not being shy about playing favorites. Based on an area's shape, size, and where you're situated within it, some frequencies will just vibe more than others because they're chill, because they know how to hang. But the problem at hand is that this means when your musician plays, you could end up with a few delayed standing waves outstaying their welcome, vainly amplifying themselves so you hear those tones resonating louder and longer than the rest. Yet another test of clarity of sound in your home studio. And God help you if you have multiple instruments playing at the same time caught in, say, a low-frequency hub, because, honey, those tones are going to grow, flow, flood, and leak through your mics until all you're laying down is mud. Now, coloration isn't always bad. There is something to be had from the way a well-set-up acoustic space can bring out new color to your sound, if done correctly. But let's be honest, you're going to run it through the computer anyway, so might as well make sure that acoustic doesn't get in the way when you're trying to be creative. Echo. Echo is a repetition of sound bouncing off any available nearby surface. Clearer than its close cousin reverb, an echo is a distinct repeating of a sound. A boomerang flung out that came flying back around, not just a hum adding hugeness to sound. Echo is for sure one acoustic, asshole, that you definitely do not want hanging around. If you're someone who likes those fast clap, hi-hat, hip-hop, transient snaps, let me introduce you to your two new banes of life, flutter echoes and slapbacks. Oh my, feeding off a quick attack in high volume and largely, if not entirely, dependent on the size of the room and any available reflective surface, like, say, the window. Flutter echoes are what can stutter sneaky and quiet into your song. Your other possibility is a sound wave that simply bounces and comes back annoyingly clear as day in the form of an aptly named slapback. Oh, this could be useful in controlled digital workstation setting. I am just betting that your buddy's garage rock band is not looking for duplicate versions of their song building and echoing upon themselves until the whole track's blurred. The guitar solo can barely be heard, and now Mike's mad again. For some reason, too. Mike, get it together. Absorption. Absorption is a pillow you scream into at night, finally falling into bed after the recording session that would not end. Absorption is why when you step out to smoke a cigarette at the show, even though the set changed and you don't know who's playing, wow, you could tell that bass was low. Absorption can be your best friend when applied right and your answer to the rest of them. So, girls and boys, you best get yourself the right porous materials and the right use of your measurements that you've already taken, and now, hopefully the hours you've spent on this already will not get wasted. Be careful, though. You don't always want a room that's too dead. If your singers are recording and want to hear themselves sounding good as they do in their own head, be prepared to either put a little tone blending reverb on their headphones or stick them in a more lively room to help keep them in tune and give them that little confidence boost that we all sometimes need. Diffusion. Finally! Last and kind of least, diffusion is what tells you if your sound is smooth. What is essentially a gauge of dynamics trying to keep a view that's panoramic. You know that you've got yourself a sound field that's diffuse no matter where you stand in the room, the intensity is at the same level. Now all this relies on how the sound waves are scattered around, which means that your layout is important. Now, all this relies on how the sound waves are scattered, which means your layout does matter. Now, I have to say, or if you're doing a recording with a Fox in a box, the even cubed walls will mean you have mostly just a back and forth bounce. But if you're recording in a room that has irregular surfaces and plenty of furniture, those waves will scatter back off that strange curvature and hit through the whole house. Again, though, there's no one answer for what you should do. If you got some big fancy orchestra and want everyone to blend, a room that's diffuse will be your godsend. But it also can mean that those instruments bleed when you generally don't want that. Besides, how often are you recording the band together in one go? So here, you can be a little lazy and don't get too crazy unless you're in one of those classical shits and trying to be legit. So, those are the 6 lovely little acoustics you cannot forget when you're trying to turn that little 2-bedroom apartment that you rent into something that could someday pay the bills. Or, you know, maybe just electric. They can be awful to deal with, but once you know what you're working with, it all becomes easier. So take your measurements, figure out what goes where, set up something to trap that bass, and you're already halfway there. And I'm going to give you a slap in the face.